You saw the thumbnail, so you know what you're here for. I've had an X-Pro1 for 2 years now, and it was my guinea pig for quite some time. It came out sexy as f***, so I couldn't miss a chance to share it with you all. If you're subscribed to this channel, you might have recognized it as my X project. But more about it later. Today I'm gonna tell what job was done here and also share some tips in case you wanna try to do some of these things with your X-Pro1. Let's roll. What up y'all, it's Aperture Value and today we have a purely gear porn episode. Listen, if you wanna get something done, do it yourself. And this camera here is not an exception. I want it, I got it. Now, while some of you are familiar with this X-Pro1, I guess many have not the slightest idea, so I'll quickly recap the story behind this beauty. I've made a whole series of episodes about X project where I designed an X-Pen insert to shoot panoramic frames with X-Pro1. I'll pop the link to a playlist above. But besides that, I also did some work on the body itself. At first, I repainted the top plate into light silver color, but the mag alloy is quite a pain in the ass to paint, and even after several tries with multiple primers and paint brands, the paint job didn't come out very good. The surface would get dirty fast and paint would eventually start to chip. So my next step was to get rid of paint altogether, and I just simply polished the top plate to the very shiny level. It looked cool, but unfortunately the bare metal would oxidize and pick up corrosion after a few months, and the solution against it exists, but it was too complex and difficult for me to execute, so I just gave up on it. After some time, I bought a spare top plate and installed that instead, while putting my custom plate away into the drawer until better times. I simply did not know exactly what to do with it, right until this moment. So let's go over all the changes that took place with this X-Pro1 that differed from a stock body. First of all, obviously, paint job. This kind of finish is called hammertone, and I immediately fell in love with it when I saw the Leica MP Grey Hammertone LHSA edition. The camera was a limited edition commemorating 35th anniversary of Leica Historical Society of America. Hammertone was used before by Leica for their VisiFlex finders, but the whole camera done with it looked just gorgeous. And of course, since that moment, I knew what kind of finish I want for my X-Pro1. Luckily, I found a local shop that repaints regular Leicas into hammertone, and after begging and crying for a week, they let me do it for a kindly discounted price, since these kind of paint jobs aren't cheap. To be fair, I just needed to paint the top plate, and I disassembled everything and put back together all by myself, so it was reasonable to let it go for a cheaper price tag. So you can see that just like I did previously with my very first paint job, the one in the X-Pro engraving as well as the sensor positioning mark have been painted over to give it a minimalistic look. I also asked to get rid of on-off engravings, so now there are just white and orange dots indicating the position of the switch. I find it neat and clean. Among other things, I also replaced the viewfinder window glass. The original one broke and I cut out another one using acrylic glass, but the transparency wasn't great and it got scratched very easy, so this time I found a lab that supplies glass elements for the precision optical equipment, so they cut out a perfect piece according to my measurements. This one is made of quartz glass, the same one you might find in Japanese watches like Citizen and Casio. It's real glass, very transparent and scratch resistant. Talking about other parts on the top plate, since I have two, I took the best pieces from each, so now everything looks mint. I kept the best conditioned dials, buttons and strap lugs. I kept my previously modified function button and the hot shoe mount, which I stripped from the black paint before. I thought it would match nicely with the viewfinder lever switch that also has been paint stripped. Moving on to the wooden grip, I kept it as it was. For those who don't know, I replaced the original flat rubber grip with a small mahogany grip made originally for the Leica Deluxe. I sanded down the back to match the shape of the X-Pro1 body, and since I thought double-side tape won't be secure enough, I drilled 2 holes to adapt 2 screws that hold the whole grip in place. For more details on the grip and other things, you can check my previous videos on X project. There you can see how was it done exactly. Now I'll share some tips for you, would you ever wish to do something similar. First of all, while preparing the top plate for repaint, do disassemble the shutter button completely. Otherwise, the paint will get inside and the button will become rather stiff. Same for the dials. I saw some dudes try to sand it down or paint the top plate without even disassemble. That's just don't do it. Unless you're absolutely positive about your skills, do not attempt to paint it yourself, since again, magnesium alloy is quite tricky to paint. You need same equipment you would use to paint a car, so just find a person who can do it for you. Another thing to keep in mind is that the original viewfinder window glass has a thin UV coating from the inside, so do not touch or rub it, otherwise you'll noticeably scratch it. Dials are tricky too. They are assembled on a set of springs and metal balls that make them spin and click, so do not lose them. If you also wish to change the grip, you might need the longer screws for it. Be careful, because overly long screws will squeeze the battery compartment and can even destroy the battery, so measure precisely. Finally, X-Pro1 is engineered to basically consist of the top plate and front and back side, without the separate bottom plate like the recent Fuji bodies. That means that you need to take apart the whole camera to get to anything. And all the screws are different size and lengths, so make a printout of the camera with all 4 views and make something like a mapping for your screws. That way none will be lost and you'll know for sure that each is in the right place after you put it back together. That is it, I guess. Hopefully you won't have same f***ups that I've had. If you have anything else you're curious about, you can ask me in the comments below, but make sure you watch all of the previous videos since they might have an answer already. And if you like my X-Pro1 mod, hit the like button. After all, I need to prove my wife that all these expenses were worth it.
Yeah, right!